Breaking news here on CBS Sports HQ. Ryan Tannehill and the Tennessee Titans have agreed to a 4-year extension reportedly worth $118 million. The signing eliminates one potential landing spot for Tom Brady. Tannehill took over the starting role last season. Marcus Mariota led the Titans to the AFC title game. And for more, let's welcome in our team of experts, CBS Sports senior NFL analyst Pete Prisco, CBS Sports senior NFL insider Jonathan Jones, and CBS Sports NFL analyst and host of the Pick Six podcast, Will Brinson. Let's start with this here, the reaction to the deal for Tannehill, who has resuscitated his career. Pete, I'll start with you.
Look, I understand they want to keep him. I get that. I would have tagged him and put the franchise tag on him and made him show me again that he could do it. He played well in the regular season. In the postseason, he barely threw for he didn't even throw for 400 yards in 3 games. He was under 100 in 2 of those games. They won because of the running game. So I would have tagged him, put the franchise tag on him, made him show me he could do it again, and then gone from there. I just don't think this is a great deal for the Titans.
Jonathan, do you agree with Pete?
I'm a little surprised about the deal. This is a huge deal for Ryan Tannehill. I'll take it from the player perspective. It's a great deal for Ryan Tannehill to be able to get around the annual average salary per year of Matt Ryan. For Ryan Tannehill, the comeback player of the year is incredible. And so, you know, from a Titans perspective, they went into these negotiations able to say, listen, we have one of the best running backs, one of the most productive running backs in the NFL in Derrick Henry. You played just 10 regular season games. Yes, you played above expectations. Yes, we are very happy with what you did on an incentive-laden deal after we made that trade for you. But to get a hair under $30 million per year for Ryan Tannehill, that is a fantastic job by his agents to get him that.
Will, is this a knee-jerk reaction by Tennessee? Hey, we want to lock him up?
No, you know, I think part of the factor here, Akeem, is the new CBA, right? And we knew that the Titans were one of those teams that could potentially use both tags, the franchise tag and the transition tag, on Ryan Tannehill and on Derrick Henry if they wanted to retain both guys moving forward if the new CBA was voted down. Because the new CBA was ratified by the players on Saturday night, it really put the onus on Tennessee to hurry up and get a deal with one of those guys done so they could then open themselves up to use the franchise tag or transition tag if they want on the other player. And I think it makes more sense to use it on Derrick Henry to pay the quarterback. And you're paying him a lot, but you're not paying him top of the market money. I mean, this is a guy who could ask for even more than he's asking for right now. Big winner here might be Dak Prescott, or it might be the Cowboys, because they can tell Dak Prescott to take less. But I think now you're going to see them franchise tag Derrick Henry, and then they keep the pieces in place to try and return and do exactly what they did last year. Lean on the run game, let Tannehill use his legs, take some vertical shots down the field, and win with defense as well.
So, Pete, Derrick Henry now going to be franchise tag, or at least we think so, because they can use it now. He led the NFL with over 1,500 yards rushing last season. He's going to get about $12.5 million, and you believe this was a wrong decision in terms of big picture with Tannehill and now franchise tagging Derrick Henry.
Well, don't forget, they could also use that franchise tag on right tackle Jack Conklin as well, and maybe not on Derrick Henry. Although I do think they will use it on Henry. Yeah, it's the wrong decision. Here's why. I understand Henry is the focal point of that offense, and he was fantastic in the postseason. He led the NFL in rushing. But look at historically, at backs who have carried as much as he has in the last couple of years, and what happens to them in the succeeding years after that. DeMarco Murray, off the ledge. I'll go back in history. Gerald Riggs, a running back that was a star runner for the Atlanta Falcons, carried a lot, went off the ledge. These guys don't sustain the ability to become focal points of that offense, and at some point it's going to go bad. So that's why there's always risk with the running back. I would have tagged him, tagged Tannehill, and then tried to sign him. And if he didn't sign, so be it. I'll go get another running back. They're everywhere.
Jonathan, then should I use the franchise tag then here on Derrick Henry?
Yeah, I think that they should have used the franchise tag. They will use the franchise tag, and I have no issue with them using the franchise tag on Derrick Henry. Listen, I am like Pete in that I do not like long-term extensions for running backs in this day and age in the NFL for very obvious reasons. However, This is just a one-year deal. He's coming off of a season where he was the NFL's leading rusher. Is he going to turn to dust in 2020? I don't know that that's going to be the case. Now, I would not feel comfortable locking him into a 4 or 5 year deal where you're throwing him $40 million in guaranteed money and it's going to be impossible to get out from under his contract like the Cardinals have with a David Johnson. But if he's going to cost around $12.5 million with this franchise tag, and you believe he still has some left in the tank, so be it. Go after it in 2020. It's just a matter of not locking yourself into it for 2021 and beyond with a running back.
Yeah, I mean, the important thing is that you pay the quarterback and not the running back. And I'm with Pete. Like, I would rather retain, I've said this for a while now, I would rather retain Ryan Tannehill and Jack Conklin than Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry. Like, I do have questions about if you make Henry the focal point of your offense and your offensive line takes a step back, maybe there's some injuries, maybe Henry himself gets hurt. The dude had over 300 carries last year, so it's entirely possible, given what we've seen from running backs in the past, then your offense as a whole could take a step back. And that would be my concern. But, I mean, I do think that if you can look at what you had last year and you believe that you can keep some consistency going into 2020. And look, this is going to be a weird offseason because of all the off-field timing of things with Corona and COVID-19 out there. We don't know exactly how things are going to play out. It's possible, and especially with the new CBA, reduced off-season workouts, that teams who have a lot of consistency from 2019, a lot of carryover in terms of personnel, may end up being in an advantageous position heading into 2020. And if that's the case, and you're the Titans, you want that carryover. And so I would tag Tannehill, I would tag Henry here. I'd let him, you know, if he's a guy you want to keep, I would let him run the ball a ton and then let him test free agency next year. And if he can't find a deal, bring him back on a cheaper salary.
Will, what you said right there, isn't that the key? Having consistent situation here, having it roll over into 2020, you lock up Ryan Tannehill, whether or not you like the deal, whether or not you like the deal here for Tannehill in terms of the years and the money. But isn't that the idea? We want to have consistency in an uncertain time right now.
Yeah, and I mean, look, you know, this is a weird time because we actually have not a surplus of quarterbacks, but we have a lot of good quarterbacks out there. The teams aren't, you know, living with dregs for the most part outside of a few franchises. But at the same time, I mean, Tannehill is a guy with a pedigree, and he's a little bit older because of his situation coming out of college and the transition there, and then the fact that he was with Miami for a while. But I mean, he's shown that he can be a really nice playmaker as a minimalized passer who's utilizing play action, using his legs. And by the way, his legs open up that run game for them a ton, and you get that consistency year to year. You got Arthur Smith, the play caller. You're going to have the quarterback. You're going to have the running back. You're going to have, for the most part, the offensive line. And who knows, maybe they can start hammering out a deal with Jack Conklin if he wants to come back. They got a nice rapport with that group of linemen there. So we'll see what happens. If they can get that consistency back, then this is a team that should challenge for the playoffs again next year.
All right, so Nashville, not a destination for Tom Brady. Jonathan, where do you think Tom Brady ends up after 20 seasons in New England? Back in New England, or are we going somewhere else? Because he's not going to Tennessee anymore.
Well, New England was always, it seems like it's the front runner for me now. I did like his fit with the Titans with both head coach Mike Vrabel, the pieces that were there, a winnable division when you consider the direction of the Houston franchise with Bill O'Brien there at the helm as head coach and general manager. What has never really made a ton of sense for me is the LA Chargers and or the Las Vegas Raiders, based really solely, number one, upon them having to face Patrick Mahomes twice a season. And so it seems like the New England Patriots, we had heard for a very long time, maybe that market for Tom Brady is not as robust as what Peyton Manning would have seen earlier in the decade. Now we're seeing it with Tom Brady with one checked off here, obviously, with Tennessee. And so we're going to see, obviously, New England has to make a move here once that legal tampering window opens up, because you don't want them to hit that if you are New England. And so right now, the leader in the clubhouse for me, and what really should be with common sense, is New England and Tom Brady.
Pete, we know that Tom Brady wants a couple of things here. He wants roster control, wants to be a part of play calling decisions. Do you think he ends up back in New England, or is he going to go somewhere else and surprise all of us?
I always thought he would go back to New England. That was my inclination because a couple reasons. One being off-season workouts. He doesn't go to them. You know, it's one thing that, you know, Giselle has, you know, told him, look, I don't want you going to those off-season workouts. And so he doesn't go. Well, if you go to a new team, you're going to have to learn a new playbook. You're going to have to learn new teammates and a new roster. So you have to go to the off-season workouts. That's one of the reasons I thought he would go back. The other reason being this. Bob Kraft wants him back. I know there's rift between him and Belichick. They'll sit him in a room. They'll tell him, look, maybe we're going to go get you Austin Hooper. We're going to go get you a wide receiver in free agency. We're going to use our draft picks. And they have a bunch of them to amp up the offense. This offense will not look like it did a year ago. That's why I think he's going back to New England.
And look, I know I mentioned the coronavirus thing when I talked about the all-season timing of the workouts. Just to mention it again, like if you're Tom Brady, if I was Tom Brady and I was trying to decide, do I want to stay in New England, stay in the house I currently have, in the situation I currently have, both geographical, mental, physical, whatever it is, or do I want to move across the country and live in a totally new building? And do I want to do that in the middle of this national health emergency? I'm picking New England. I mean, it's a no-brainer, and I think he was probably already leaning towards going back there anyway. They're the favorites to land him. They make the most sense. And again, you go back to the consistency part of this. If you're the Patriots and you look at this, the new CBA is going to change the way that teams operate this offseason to a degree. There is a health scare going on that is going to change the way teams operate this offseason to a degree. If the draft gets pushed back, that's going to be less time to work in rookies into your system and to talk to rookies and to work on the playbook. I think teams that are consistent year to year and that have an established situation like the Brady and Belichick situation will have an advantage going into the 2020 season. So it would make sense if you're Tom Brady to go back to New England. I think that's ultimately what he does in this case now.
Pete, is there any thought if you're Tom Brady, and I'm not trying you to get inside his head or whatever, but is there any thought here kind of like LeBron James or another player who's won a Super Bowl or a championship in another league that wants to say, hey, I'm going to take my talent somewhere else and I'm going to try to win a Super Bowl with another team. I'm going to see if I can challenge myself and do that. Would that be part of his thinking if he decides to go outside of New England?
Well, I think it would be part of the thinking for both he and Belichick. I mean, there's an arrogance involved with being great in a sport, and they're great. Tom Brady, arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. Bill Belichick, arguably the greatest coach of all time. Brady would like to probably prove that he could go win one without Belichick. Belichick would like to prove that he could go win one without Tom Brady. Will made a good mention about the virus and everything that's going on now. Not only that, and I said this when it happened back in the day with Kobe Bryant a couple months ago. When Kobe Bryant's tragedy happened with his family, I think a lot of athletes looked inside themselves and said, you know what? I got to spend more time with my kids, and I got to be more present in their lives. And I think it's going to make guys like Tom Brady reevaluate the whole idea of moving his family and going to a new city and uprooting everybody, because I just think that we're at a time now where people look inward and kind of reevaluate what's important and what isn't important.
Great point. Pete Prisco, Jonathan Jones, Will Brinson joining us here on CBS Sports HQ. Men, thank you.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.